Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, as always, I have the color palette linked in the description below. It's totally free. Just download the link and then open it up in Procreate and it'll automatically import the color palette that we'll be using so that you can follow along using the same colors, or go ahead and mix it up if you feel like using different colors for this one. So take a second to go grab that if you would like, and then come on back and we will get right into it. Okay, first things first, we will go over the canvas dimensions. So we are doing 10 inches by 10 inches at 300 dpi. And the color profile we're using is the second color profile in the RGB list. And at the end of the video, we end up using 10 layers. So make sure that you have that many layers available to use. If you need to adjust your DPI down a little bit to add more layers, please do so. But this is the color palette we will be using. It's very, very simple, only 6 colors. That's awesome. So first things first, we are on layer 1 and we are going to go into our color palette and select the first color on the first row and drop that onto the entire canvas to fill the background. Add a new layer above this layer and then go in and select this second color on the top row, the pink color. And we are going to grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, and we have our brush at about 30%. And the first thing we're going to do is just draw the sun in the background. So we're just going to draw a circle, hold your pen down so it snaps into a shape, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. And then go ahead and fill that in. It's pretty small. And then we are going to grab the arrow tool, turn on snapping in that bottom section there, and we're just going to snap it to the center of the screen horizontally. So we'll see a vertical yellow line when you hit the center of the screen. And we want it to be a little bit above halfway, but again, it's pretty small. It's not ginormous, but you know, just about this size. Again, centered left to right, but then a little bit further up than the halfway point, top to bottom. If that's done, we are going to go into the layer menu, add a new layer on top of this one, go into our color palette and select the third color on the top row, this bright white, same brush and everything, and we are going to start drawing some clouds. So we're going to start on the left side here, a little above halfway, and we're just going to keep drawing curved lines. So draw a curved line, hold your pen down so that Procreate turns it perfectly, you know, smooth and curvy. And we're going to make some bigger than others, some smaller. We're going to kind of, you know, form like a cloud pattern, so it'll kind of go up and down in areas, get higher and lower, and again, bigger and smaller as we go. But we want to cover up about half of the sun, maybe a third to a half on the bottom of the sun, and just go all the way across like this until we get to the end. And so we're going to have this go off the edge over here, and then we are going to fill it in below this. So drag your color underneath that, zoom in here, and if you can see any like gaps in between where you filled the color and the line that you drew, undo it and then do this. So you drag the color on to fill it and then hold your pen down while you do that, and then slide your pen over to the right and it'll increase the threshold so that it fills in that little gap. Okay, and that looks better. Next, we're going to go into our layers menu and we're going to turn down the opacity. So click on this little N here, and then you'll have this bar for the opacity, and we're going to drag that down to 70%. And then we're going to add a new layer on top of this one, and we are going to basically just do the same exact thing. So we are going to start on the left side again, a little bit lower so that we can still see that first cloud formation that we made in the background, but we're going to go across the screen again, doing the same exact thing, making all these curved lines, go up and down, make some bigger and some smaller. Like right here, we went a little bit above the background clouds. That's fine. So we're just going to kind of mix it up a little as we go across. then at the end here, we're gonna again go off the screen and then we're gonna fill below it. But this time we are gonna leave it at the full opacity so that we have these two separate layers that you can see. Next, we are gonna start making the mountains. So we're gonna go into our layers menu, add a new layer on top of this one, go into our color palette, select the first color on the second row, same brush, same size, and we're just gonna draw some mountain shapes. So we're gonna start right underneath the sun here, a little to the left, and we're just gonna draw some little triangular shapes, kind of make them a little wiggly. And then we are going to go down to the right, and then we're going to connect it at the bottom. So each mountain is going to be kind of like this. This one's probably going to be the smallest one because it's the furthest away. But you know, this is kind of the look we're going for the mountains. So then we're going to draw another one a little down and to the right of this one. Again, just some little triangular shapes, make some of them a little wonkier, some of them bigger, some of them skinnier, taller. You know, kind of like a mountain would be. And then we're going to go back down to the right and connect the bottom and fill it in. The next one is going to be a little bit closer, and we're going to start off the left side of the screen. Again, just doing what we've been doing before. This one's going to end up being a little bit bigger than the others just because, again, we're getting a little bit closer to the forefront of the picture, and we're going to drag that across the bottom and fill that in as well. And then the last one we're going to draw is going to be on this bottom right here, and it's going to come from the bottom of the screen. Again, just more wiggly lines, taller, shorter, whatever, and we're going to have it go off the side of the right screen here. And then when that is done, we will fill that in as well. So these are our 4 mountain ranges. So the next thing that we're going to do is add some highlights and shadows to them. So let's go into the layers menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. And then we're going to go into our color palette, select the second color on the second row, the lighter purplish color, and we are going to go back in and add some highlights. So we'll start with this back mountain that we drew first. And we'll just start on the points, and we're just going to make them all in the same direction. So we're going to start at the points and kind of go off to the left a little bit. So here you'll see when I fill in, the threshold's too high. So we are going to do the same thing we did with the clouds and drag it in to fill it, and then hold our pen down and drag to the left so that it doesn't fill in the entire mountain. But then we're just going to do that same thing again, just kind of highlighting the little left sides of the peaks of the mountain. So here we'll draw a line to the left and then back over to the right and then fill it in. So they're all going to kind of angle the same way, and we don't have to do it on every single point, just most of them. So now we'll move on to the next one and do a very similar thing here. So just kind of do this and follow along, and we'll get through all of them. Awesome. So now we are going to go back in and add some shadows. So we're going to stay on the same layer and everything, but grab this third color on the second row, same brush, and we're going to start at the bottom of each of the mountains now and draw some little kind of triangular pointy shapes similar to the shape of our mountain. and, you know, just kind of up and down some real, you know, wavy sides and stuff. And we are going to fill in those as we go along. And then we'll just do the same thing on each mountain. We don't want to run into any of our highlights. We want to leave some space there. But again, just kind of follow similarly the shape of our mountain. Make the lines kind of wiggly as we go. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to add some clouds in front of them to make it look like they're in the clouds. So we are going to add a new layer on top of that layer in the layers menu. Go back to our color palette and select the white color again, the third color on the top row. And we're going to do the same thing that we did earlier with making our clouds, just this time in front of these mountains. So we're just going to make lots of little curved lines up and down, bigger and smaller, all the way across each little front of the mountain. Make sure they stay connected to each other all the way across. And then at the very end, we are just going to draw a little line to kind of connect them. We can't really see it since it's in the other clouds, but draw a line to connect it and then fill it in. And we just want to make sure we don't end up hitting any of our other mountains. Just kind of try to avoid them when closing your shape. But we're going to do the same thing for each one of these. Since this last one is all the way in the front, we aren't going to do it all the way across. We're just going to add some little sections where the clouds are popping up from the edge of our canvas. Okay, and then we're going to do a very similar thing where we're going to make a layer that's like less opaque. So we're going to add a new layer on top of this layer. In the layers menu, drag it below it so that it's behind. And then we're going to do a very similar thing. So we're just going to draw little sections of clouds, make sure that you can see them kind of popping up behind the layer that we just made. And just kind of do them in sections. You don't have to go all the way across. These are the ones that we're going to be making. We're going to turn the opacity down on them in a little bit so that they're kind of ghost looking like our first set of clouds that we made. So just make some little sections and then connect each section and fill them in. So you kind of have to keep an eye on where you started your little shape, and so that you can connect it in the end and then fill it in. And just do maybe like 3 on each mountain, just in different sections. Okay, that took quite a while, but we are done with that now. So then we're going to go into our layers menu and click on the N on this layer and drag the opacity down to 70 like we did before. So now you should see that we have one layer that looks kind of ghosty and one layer that looks more solid to just give our sky some definition. Okay, so now we're going to make our sun rays. So real quick, the first thing I want to do is grab the sun layer, this pink circle, and we're going to make it a teeny bit bigger, and we're going to move it down just a little bit. So we really just want to see like a good half of the sun poking out now that we have all the rest of that done. So move that around if you need to, and then go back to our layers menu. And this is a very interesting process. So what we're actually going to do is add a new layer right above our sun. Use this white, monoline brush, and we're just gonna make a little dot. It can be pretty big. We're gonna delete it later, but we just want it right in the center-ish of our sun. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's gonna be like our starting point for our sun rays. So then go back to the layers menu, add a new layer on top of our light purple layer, and drag the white color to fill that entire layer. So then we are going to grab our eraser tool and set that as well to the monoline brush under the calligraphy section and max that out at 100% for size. And then what we're going to do is just start on this dot every single time, draw a line to the outside of the canvas, hold it until it turns into a perfect line. And we're just going to do that all the way around. So just make sure you're always starting in that same point. And then we're going to kind of vary these. Some of them are going to be wider apart, some of them closer together, but just go all the way around like this, starting at that same point every single time. And we can kind of stop when we get to this other edge here. We don't necessarily need to go all the way around throughout the bottom because that will be covered up anyway. Okay, so once you have that done all the way around, at least the top section where you can really see everything, we are going to start removing some of these to create our rays. So click the selection tool, click on this automatic button, and then make sure like color fill isn't turned on or anything. And then we're going to go through and we are going to start selecting some of these and removing them. So you just click on it, click the arrow tool, and you can drag it off the screen. If you have any like spaces that you can see where it didn't pick up the entire section, you can again hold your pen down on the screen while you're selecting it and slide your bar to the right or left to increase the threshold. But we're just going to go all the way around and keep selecting every other one. So sometimes it kind of tries to pick up a second one when I go to click the arrow tool, but just, you know, undo that. Just make sure you're doing just every other, and we want to get rid of them. I kind of chose to keep some of the bigger rays with the white section, and then when we do the pink section next, I'm going to do some smaller rays. But yeah, just do that all the way around till it looks about like this, and then we're going to go to our layers menu, click on the N on this layer and drag that down to 70 again, our favorite number for opacity, so that it kind of lessens the effect of that. So once you have that done, we are going to add another new layer right above the one that we just did, and we're going to go back to our pink color and fill that all the way in on the screen. And then just so that we can see everything, we're going to click on this and drag this down to 70 as well. So that's what we're going to end up on anyway, but it's impossible to see it with the sun being the same color. So grab your eraser brush again, and we're just going to do the same thing starting on that same point that we used before. And again, varying the size as we go around. Again, we can stop once we get to this edge over here. We don't really need to go all the way around throughout the bottom section since that's all covered up. But we are going to now go back to our selection tool, make sure it's on automatic again. And you thought it was cool before, but watch this. We're going to select every single other one and drag them all off the screen all at once. Boom, done. We have our pink rays now. I chose the skinnier ones to keep this time. But now we can go through and delete that dot in the layers menu that we were using, and then click on our circle, make a duplicate of it, select the bottom one, click on the wand tool, Gaussian blur layer, and drag that up to about 25% to just create a little glow behind our sun. So that is it for our picture. So you can add some more stuff to this if you want, maybe some little clouds in the sky or some birds or something, but I just decided to kind of leave it at this. So as always, I hope you had a good time. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more Procreate tutorials if you haven't subscribed already. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to share your drawing on Instagram, please do so and tag me so that I can see how it turned out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks so much for watching.